all this crazy stuff.
But then they're letting them print.
We had reports from, so I'm the media director.
Where does that not make any?
We have reports all over.
I want the prisoners that.
Crazy scenarios and stuff. We had some from Michigan. Where at 3 in the morning, caravan, Chrysler, whatever, and a Ferrari pulled up. A Ferrari pulled up. Yeah. Yeah, and pull up behind the Development Center. And unload five.
There's no way. Well, I think the digital trail, the video that I saw, the digital trail, and how there's like a black box recording for these systems, and they can watch, and the votes are rising, Trump's over here, and then all of a sudden,
Did you see the video on where it was actually looking on?
Oh my God.
yeah. Well, anybody with a DVR still can see that.
These are the intense on sleepy basement, go run.
You know what? That is what I'm telling you. I wouldn't do campaign at all. They have wrapped up. We've been 4,000 houses in 90 days, had time everywhere. But that was the whole point. They knew they had to do what they knew. They had to.
So here's the thing I'm trying to figure out. The claim is that they, this digital trail ships every state.
Right, so Dominion allegedly has 28 states. But 28 states they come here. Texas is 9.
What is going on with all those states that go back on their history shows they did not know? It's not important. It's showing that they did not know.
Yes, there's going to be budget actually security on the county level.
Judge Sanderson, who's Judge Sanderson, maybe his numbers were good. The election board guy is he should be. He has a
whole bunch of foundation work they do the year.
I mean, I have personal friends who are still showing that they did not know. Mine didn't show up. Stood in mine.
My registration has changed certainly in the public law. And it is out of 16 or 21. I started in the military.
It is, so she's seen all pre-algebra, they're just not allowing pre-like honors and everything. And I'm like, sweetie, that's why they didn't type that here down, Tim and Charlie.
You were one of them.
Yeah, but that's different from me. You did absentee. I did absentee.
And they never got sick.
Yeah, it's funny.
I have a friend who went home to visit parents about 2 weeks before the election. She's from New Jersey. Anyway, she gets there. Her parents are going, we got some mail for you.
So she was a B student.
She was mailed a ballot. She wrote her parents' address in her name. She's been married 22 years, so been here for 19.
My friend has two kids in Arizona, and they both received the mail ballot. And one is registered now.
Wow. Wow.
And every other week, they had a guy
Because why?
She's got Esther Pretty Baby. She's got the Scarlet Letter in it.
They actually have something called
doesn't matter, she would
No, she's at home. Before you on something, and well, going spot over to Brazilian, so she was like, yeah, that's okay, definitely.
because I need to find somebody who will get on medical.
That teacher doesn't
We
even.
went to boot camp, came back, 9 freaking months later, he's still in medical.
Substitute parasite.
Must be in parasite because they're foreign. So he would have done his parents.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
I know people that are just, it's a loading here that first 6 months.
Why? Now, are they giving them physical therapy, and what about all the crazy stuff? My son was on medical hold. San Diego. He was in the unit. Or when they stabbed him. I mean, because they're okay with mental illness, the government, and that's why we're getting kicked out. And now they put them in an open bay with people who can't get away from them when they start going off. Oh, yeah? You would not want to be that long. So who do I call? How do I get in there? Nothing I can do? I do. I was thinking of calling Steve to get one of the Marines. There was a Marine for him and find out who he's working for now.
There we go.
Hey, it's safe.
I hear you. So, you're in a hurry, so. Especially with
So she's not related to you?
What's up, brother? How are you, man? Good to see you. Yeah, everything going well? And she got your letter. She said, oh, yeah?
Where do you live now? Oh, okay. Where do you want to go? Where do you, how much do you come in? So there are some cute little houses that just came on the market this past week, not just down the road, right? Technically, it's open in the city. Some of that part of the neighborhood is open in the city, but it might be Edmonds, but it's close to Oklahoma Christian.
Oh, okay, I'll talk to them.
I know, I haven't seen anything under 200,000 in my some of these look decent.
I mean, it's a good house, and I don't know.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for coming out here. I'm Miles Reedy, I'm your MC for today.
Yeah, come on.
Our fearless leader, Chairman McLean, apologizes for his absence, but if you guys want to stand with me, we're going to say a prayer real quick and then pledge allegiance. Father, thank you for bringing us here together to be with one another and really helping us all focus our efforts and maintaining this republic and doing it in your name and your glory. And thank you for this wonderful food that we're putting into our body, the sacrifices that each and every one of us made, and help us continue to fight for this wonderful nation. Lord, amen. And pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all. Now, we have a few people here today. Please be seated. First individual
may have heard that been going up against individuals on the county level, making sure that our roads are funded and ICE stays in our jail. And correct me if I'm wrong, what branch were you? Army National Guard. Army National Guard. And he is, was it Bronze Star? Bronze Star recipient. And well, I mean, man, doesn't need that much of an introduction, but he's here to talk to us, our fearless county commissioner, Ted County.
Well, thanks, Miles and Adam and all those who were a part of doing this. And you know, I was happy to do my little part in Iraq. You're in the sandbox, but you know, I'm just always humbled in the presence of great heroes. And I hear Ed Toledo over there, Major Ed, and so many of you. I serve with a lot of heroes over there. I'm not a hero, I'm a patriot. I do the heart, and I did it a little backwards. You know, when I joined the military, I was 37 years old. I had to get an age waiver to get in. I got in because when 9/11 occurred, you know, I was a kid. I was 7 years old when the Vietnam War ended. I remember, even as a 7-year-old, no, news or whatever, that there were some people who got a tail and ran to Canada, and there were other people who kept going to college over and over and over to get out of it, going over there, and yet other people, you know, who were not as wealthy, you know, didn't have that option, and then other people who could have, you know, gotten, you know, did not actually did their purposes as well. And I remember thinking, if our nation was ever before, I mean, even as a 7-year-old, I remember thinking, how would I do my part? Well, you know, the year I was growing up in, I'm 54. There were a lot of words. You won't see a lot of veterans my age. Not that many. Probably the lowest percentage, you know, of any age group. In the 50s and 60s. After the Vietnam War, dying down the military, all that kind of stuff. But you know, there was the book of Gulf War. You know, thanks to those who served in that, it was over 30 days. So, but when the 9/11 occurred, I went inquired the next day about joining. But I just had laser eye surgery. They told me I had to wait a year. So went, and then I still remember the day our troops got into Baghdad in the Iraq War. And they stayed to the Greek office and wasn't easy at 37. You know, fast forward a couple of years. By the way, at the time, I was a animal lawyer, had my own business, law practice for several years, and I was a sitting member of the state legislature at the time. But I felt on my heart to do it. And a few years later, I left the legislature and went to serve. And in fact, I volunteered to the individual RMT program and served with Task Force 134, which was painting jobs. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I didn't know what I knew what I was going to do. What we ended up having to do was 5 days a week. I thought I'd be doing it at the age of 40, I turned 41. A little higher. Is that closer? Is that better? Okay. But, you know, then the 5 days a week going out outside the wire, work with Iraqis in the Iraqi facility, where we took mortar fire and all that stuff, you know, pretty big places, locking loaded, put your battle on. Not exactly what I thought I'd be doing at age 41. And I was probably, you know, good, 10, 15 years older than just about anyone else we knew. So I was very honored to serve with some really folks. My little tale in comparison, but I appreciate all you guys for what you're doing. You know, I know the theme of battle on the home front, reconciliation. That's fantastic. How many of y'all? Anybody here 100% disabled? Great. So even before I went to Iraq, in the state legislature, I was honored to be the principal author of the bill giving the sales tax exemption, 100% VA reinstated, some of the property tax exemptions, car exemptions, and all that. So I was honored to get the legislative award. Maybe good vote for that. So I always admired veterans, and eventually I became one of them. And it was an honor. But my hat is off to you guys for your efforts. So what can you do, okay? So we are, no fooling, we in our country have a great cultural divide. It's getting worse because of social media and the biased legacy media that is out there. And by the way, I used to think, up until a couple of years ago, the local media here wasn't as bad as the national media, but it's rapidly, that has changed. Okay, so they are very bad. What do? Well, stay engaged. Okay? Pay attention to what's going on. Recognize that there are people who actively try to undermine the values that we have. And I will say that about Joe Biden too. I'll tell you a story about Joe Biden. Okay? He has two sons. One who's a sleeve bag. He had another son who died of brain cancer. Bo Biden. I went through observation course with Bo Biden. He was a bad guy. Liberal, with some jive with each other, stuff like that. So there may still be a few people on the other side who are honorable, but they're getting fewer and fewer. And so Joe Biden's just sold out the bad guys, and that's unfortunate. So we need to stay engaged, stand up for the values that we fought for. In the heat of the moment, you're fighting for your buddies, right? Your battle buddies. But we all joined. For a variety of reasons, but at least part of that was a sense of we want to do right by our country. And the effort now is to do right, yes, by our fellow veterans, making sure that veterans are taken care of. We all know about the horrible situations, suicide rates, things like that. PTSD is a real deal. We all know it. But also standing up for the values that we fought for. And so I appreciate your efforts here. Don't do it the way I do. You get all the politics first, before you're ready. Now you can do it the other way. It's very important that veterans do get involved and run for office. What I will tell you is when you do, you have a certain credibility about you when you do that others do not have. I think that's true in pretty much any race, and I think that I strongly encourage those who are veterans to hold values that we hold in patriotism and standing for what's right and good in America. I would strongly urge you to learn more about it and consider taking that on yourself, because it's not a guarantee for victory, but I do think that you have a certain cachet when you do that others don't have. And I think there are people with money who are looking for people who are veterans and hold those values, shared values, to be able to support. And I'd be happy to visit with anybody about any of this stuff. These guys know how to get hold of me. I don't have cards with me and all that, but I'll just give you my best way to reach me is email, kevincalvey@gmail.com. Don't use my county address. I can talk about politics there. But personally, and I'd be happy to visit with you anytime. You can reach these guys. We read that to get hold of me and Adam and Miles. And once again, I just want to thank you guys and encourage you to stay engaged, stay involved. Even if you don't want to run for office, get behind candidates that do and support them. Letters together, social media, those things all actually do matter. I'll give you an example today. The Ward County Commission, you might have seen on TV, we're being inundated by these left-wing extremists shouting the F-bomb at us, and threatening to come to our houses, and all this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, the outgoing sheriff thinks it's funny that they do that, so he's telling his deputies not to go and, to remove them, as they should be removed for shouting at her and that sort of thing. So we just have to suck it up and deal with it. But today, including a couple people in this room, we had good people there. And as a result, I will tell you, that made a difference. Some of the people who've been opposing the smart way to spend our federal carry on public safety instead of frigging their way on special interest giveaways. Some of them now are looking, we do need to take care of public safety first for jail and things like that. Just after, how many? It was about 10 people there this morning. It wasn't even, it wasn't a huge number, but it makes a difference when good people show up. And I would say that's double or triple for the veterans. So again, thank you for what you're doing. Unfortunately, I can't stay right now because this is the only time this week we have a babysitter, so I'm meeting my wife for lunch. Constituent number one, as I call it. So I won't be able to stay right now, but I hope to be able to join you more often in the future. And just again, hats off to you. God bless you for what you have done and what you're continuing to do. Thank you.
Hey, Miles, if I could just have a moment real quick, I'm going to present Commissioner a coin, and just so you know, he recognized me and my family at when you were in office, and he's a very special man. I just want to say this to all of you. We can take note of values and who we are as a people. And I'm sorry that I come off script a little bit, but I have to say this. This man stands for what he believes in. And not all of us will agree with everything in this world, but when you stand with God and your country and your family and represent that, and he's got a lot of children. I know you gotta go, but I just feel like I needed to say that because, he's an inspirational individual, and you know what, just sent a letter to our house and saying, you know what, we're gonna take care of our people. So please go vote and vote for individuals like him to be in office and make a difference. So, I don't get to see him very much. Come on, Aaron.
Here, let's get in there. Okay. Get the many people who can in there, so. Come on in. Come on in.
No, rally country.
Let's do it. All right, let's do it.
Rally up.
All right.
All right, come on, Karen, get in here. Sorry about that. I think it's a good picture. You gotta take a picture.
There is no script.
All right. There you go.
1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
There may be one or two cameras here.
That's why I yelled.
All right. That's right. You're doing good, Miles. Hold that smile.
All right. Let me know if you need anything.
Is this one yours?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you were? Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
You bet.
You know, I learned something new today about Commissioner County. I did not know that he joined after September 11th. Takes a lot of
Hopefully I didn't hear that.
a lot of courage to see what's going on and say, screw it, I'm going to do something about it. And the next individual, Kyle, that's part of Active Duty, the founder of Active Duty RX, he saw something and he wanted to do something as well with respect to helping people's health. I'll let him speak a little more about that right now.
Hello, everybody. I'm not a public speaker, so prepare yourself.
Close to the mic.
Can y'all hear me?
Gotta be close to the mic.
Close to the mic.
Good?
Pull it in, pull it in, pull it in. Don't forget.
Okay. Give y'all a little backstory. I served 2008, 2012. Did combat operations in Mosul, Iraq, and it wasn't a year after the military. I think I lost that purpose, and I ended up being a homeless drug addict with a suicide attempt. Bear with me, I get emotional. So I knew I had to get my life back, and so I dug into natural medicine. And when I found out that natural medicine worked, I used plants from all over the world. It's been generations in natural medicine. And so when I formulated something that helped me, I knew I had to get it out to the public. I had to help my brothers and sisters not only beat the suicide rate, but also the pharmaceutical death rate in veterans. So we did great with that. I put it to market, and I found out real soon that PTSD is not discriminated. And I had mothers and fathers that had sexually abused children that got quality of life back, domestic abuse survivors, veterans, combat veterans. And that company did really well. We sell nationwide right now. That might still crazy. I sell nationwide with that right now, and I wanted to do more, so I started Battle on the Homefront, and that was my veteran outreach program. I brought veterans in, and I taught them how to grow medicine, that build that camaraderie and that brotherhood. I know the power of gardening. I know that sounds weird, but it's very therapeutic. And I want to do more even though. So We take veterans to events, we build that camaraderie, we find that purpose, that love again for our brothers and our sisters that we serve with. I think that's one of the reasons that I got lost so fast, is because I lost that direction. So we're building that back up, and it turned into something even more beautiful, which was downloading Homefront TV. It's a film podcast. OTU Media, veteran-owned and operated company, helps me produce that, and gratefully with Chairman McLean, he supports us with that and lets us film at the Republican Party headquarters, giving veterans a voice in Oklahoma. And I bring in veteran nonprofits. I advocate strongly for veteran entrepreneurship. And I bring in combat veterans that are talking about the struggles and navigating life out of the military. I'm gonna get away from that mic. You know, and just navigating life. We talk about mental health, we talk about addiction, we talk about breaking the stigmas. It took me a very long time to address my mental health, because I'm an A-type personality, I'm a soldier, I'm a combat veteran, and I had to, and it took a lot of coaching, but I finally did, and I want to highlight that and show my brothers and my sisters that to break the stigma. There is no stigma. Stuff happens to us, and it's important to address that. Then I just launched Barrage Coffee, which is a CBD infused coffee. I'm all about in every way giving back and helping with natural medicine. And with Barrage, you know, I'm starting an affiliate program with that to be able to employ veterans to make very good money with that. Actually got right here, John Neal, he is a veteran as well, and I'm mentoring and coaching him to be the CEO of his own company. He's about to start Horny Toad Coffee. So, and he's going to be the CEO of his own company. And I strongly advise and help entrepreneurs and veterans. We learn so much in the military. When you get out of the military, you do not have to go be in law enforcement or whatever job is infantry. So, you know, everybody said you're going to be a cop, you're going to be a security guard. We learn so much good things in the military: leadership, working well under pressure, and so many more things that was instilled in us. I advocate strongly for that, and I mentor and I coach, and I love to see veterans become successful on the home front. I think that's about it for me, so thank y'all all, and thank you, Major Ed. He's a good friend of mine now. I'm so grateful for him and our relationship and all the things that me and him are going to do together. So thank y'all.
Well, it looks like some good news is coming out of this press conference, and some info with the president coming out. The number of absentee ballots that weren't returned is significantly high, so it doesn't look like we're going to have a president like Joe Biden much longer. The next individual is someone who I realized coming back that their involvement is meaningful to, you know, so many people on so many levels. Because, like Kyle said, you know, he could have found the darkness and went away and just gone on with his life and become part of the statistic. Because, you know, I mean, losing an appendage is something I can't imagine. And so many of our brothers and sisters who have dealt with that, you know, make the ultimate decision to take their own life. But it really goes to show someone stepping forward and wanting to, you know, overcome that challenge. And, you know, Major, he's been the epitome of someone to move forward with his life after facing, you know, insurmountable odds. And, you know, I just, you know, thank you for agreeing to be here first and foremost. And I think what Commissioner Calvin said about getting involved, and I hope that you are very much planning to get involved in some form or fashion in politics, because I think you'd be one heck of a state senator, you know, not pointing fingers at a certain seat or anything. But I would love to see you in the legislature fighting for, you know, our values and our freedom, because I know that where you stand is the same place I'd like to stand. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Major Ed Toledo.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Well, we haven't known each other very long, and the thing about done some really great stuff, and I'm going to go off script a little bit. First of all, I just want to pay tribute to my wife, Karen. I'm glad that she came. It's on the flyer. It's on the flyer, and she said, "Hey, I want to go." And the other thing too that I've admired about her lately is, because you admire each other, and everyone kind of comes and blossoms. But this election has really profiled and highlighted our family's true intent of why we exist in this nation. And I think Karen would agree that right now the turmoil, the negativity, the cheating, the devaluing, I'm sorry, I'm going to just say it like it is. I think that there has been a lot of dishonesty and negativity from this election, and it is not, and then the other side talks about, the honor, duty, responsibility, and all of these other things. I'm sorry, just throw that out the window. Because honorable people don't do what they just did. And for 4 years, you've been tearing up an individual who was in office. And I got to tell you, it bothers me. Why does it bother me? Because I literally, in my work, and again, I'm going off script, to be honest with you, in my work, about a June time frame, I had some people that were very negative towards me and my family for attending the rally in Tulsa after being invited by the President of the United States and my good friend Andy Giuliani to be the recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the state of Oklahoma. And I had some people internally that I thought were different, were very hurtful. And it didn't hurt me, but it hurt my family, because my family has given up a lot for me to be on this stage representing our veterans all over this country. And they've given up a lot of time of me being away from home. Our 19-year-old often reminds me that, you weren't here for a lot of the time. And the reason is because I was out here serving other families. Not my family, but I was serving other families by giving and providing scholarships to those families and educational support. I'm the one that has to sleep at night knowing that, but I also have a family that says we support you, because what you did is you made a difference in someone else's life. And in our lives, we're doing very good. And I wanted to share that with you because that's the heart and soul of who we are. We may not have a packed house today, but to the folks that brought the food in and the barbecue and to the connection, and you're the best dressed, by the way. I need something like that. To the fact that, we can wear our shirts and we've met just recently and love what we do, to what we do with ConnectMD. ConnectMD, in fact, I was just in a meeting with a gentleman that funds these kind of activities and is a foundational guy that funds foundations. And today he told me, he says, I love what you all are doing. The biggest thing that I caught from this sheet that you gave me was the telemedicine aspect of it. He's like, man, how many veterans would benefit from that? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, and Frank Merritt, who is the king of nonprofits, let me tell you, that's who I was trained by in this community along with Bob Space. If they're telling you that, that's a big deal. And to all the veterans, you know what, we've got ConnectMD, which is really launching. It's a telemedicine deal. You can make some money off of it. It's a great thing too. And it's not just for vets, but what we're trying to do is engage vets. And then you've got coffee going on. And my friend, we interviewed years ago, and look where we're at today. And Miles, I tell you what, we're championing a group of people. And so what I want to tell you is from this day forward, because I just got off a big meeting with this gentleman, and he called me to action, and I want to just kind of share with you what he said. He told me that we need to create an atmosphere in central Oklahoma that brings veterans and organizations together, along with the corporate sector, to make a difference and to be strategic and do exactly what Tulsa's been doing for years, and that is to create a partnership of public-private that really enhances our abilities to do our work together, and to advocate to the Mr. Calvies or Commissioner Calvies of the world and the state legislature that there are some things that they need to do to improve the lives of veterans through legislative process. And I think to me, that's what some of you have been doing. I've done some of it too. And in fact, my good friends Jackson and Ryan Tufts, I started this PAC called Serving for Freedom, and I know I'm a little bit all over the map, but that's okay. But this PAC, the other day they asked me to run for Senator Vice's seat. I'm not interested, but I'm interested in people that want to have that same vision and support their vision and support the fact that they care about our veterans instead of blowing smoke like, Mr. Biden did years ago, because I was at a big event where he blew a bunch of smoke in 2008 to a bunch of veterans, and then there's a veteran on the floor, basically there with all of us in these chairs, and he tells us to all of us stand up, looking up, tells us to stand up, and then he tells a World War II veteran that he needs to get up too, and the man's missing 2 limbs. And he's disabled and he can't get out of his wheelchair. And how disrespectful is that? That we can't really think about things like that. And I only tell that story because I saw it firsthand at the National Guard Conference, which was so disrespectful to all of the veterans that were there. And then that final point was on the other side of that. He came to us, and as he greeted us, he said, "Oh, thank you for your service." And he was talking about himself, and then here's the caveat to it. He's like, "Well, if I would have been president, or we would have been in this administration, none of you would have lost those legs."
Oh.
Well, guess what? That World War II guy lost his legs in World War II. He didn't lose them over here in Iraq and Afghanistan.
How about Obama's what's it called, engagement,
Yeah,
rules of engagement?
that's right. So my point to all of that is that take the time to get to know our veterans. Take the time to understand what we're all about. And you are a good speaker, by the way. And you know why? Because you tell a story from your heart and soul. And that's the art of public speaking. And so just for a couple of minutes, just let me tell you, how many of you have heard my story? Because I don't want to go and tell this, okay? Well, then let me tell you a little bit.
Let's hear it.
Mama, no.
Let's hear it.
Mama, raise your hand, okay, real quick. Mama's lived it, so. And then my good friend Chris Morgan is here. To all of the rest of you that I've met, Chris Morgan makes these awesome flags. And we've been presenting those. He's part of the John Daly Major Ed Hart Alliance Foundation. All of you now are, by the way, even though you don't know it. I need you to be in this fight with me. We just started a foundation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, but real quick. On August 17th of 2004, that's really where my story starts. 20 years of service. My father was a Colombian immigrant who came to this country. My mom's Puerto Rican. Oil and water get together, and all of a sudden they make up the Polito family. And let me tell you, and they make me speak Spanish at home, by the way, too. And the coolest thing about it is we were talking about school and stuff. My daughter comes home and she's like, "Dad, I scored a 75 on my test. My Spanish test." And by the way, my teacher said, "You don't know Spanish." So okay, so I'm just telling some funny stories. But anyways, but on August 17th, really, that's where my story starts. I hit a 250-pound roadside bomb, 250 to 500 pound roadside bomb. I saw it come up. First fragment hit my knee, broken in 3 places, fragments to the left side of my body. I was in trouble. But the great thing about the enlisted and the non-commissioned officers, the backbone of our military, is they leave no one behind on the field of battle. They take their training seriously. And how many times did we have to rehearse that situation? Many times. The reason I'm alive today is because, number one, my father once told me that when you take the oath of office to defend the greatest nation in the world, it's about God, country, family, and all of those that serve in the armed forces of the United States of America, to protect you, the American people, and to protect the greatest nation in the world that some of our legislators have sold out. For public office, but I don't know. I've seen some others do that. But my point to all of that is that, you know what, when I hit that roadside bomb, the thing that happened is my life flashed in front of me. I saw the light of God, and my wife is one of the most spiritual people that I know. But you know what? The great thing about the spirituality of our family is not Karen. It was her mom and her ancestors that came before her. Remember, we are a godly nation. Where did we forget that? And that, to me, is the impact of who we are. Because let me tell you something. When you almost die, which I died 3 times on the battlefield, came back and you see the light, I'm telling you, it's scary. But it's scary to the point like, hey, did I do everything on this earth that I should have done that was purposeful and loving and respectful to the man or who we have faith in, and that is our God. And to see Jesus on that cross and go through what he went through should put everything into perspective of the fact that, man, someone died for us to be free and for our sins to be taken away. And in a way, you know how powerful those words are. And so for me, that was my time on this earth at that particular time, was that if I die on this day today, I hope that I did what I was supposed to do. Okay? And I have to tell you, you know what? You kind of look at, you kind of think about it, you're like, man, you doubt. But this combat medic saved my life. E4 took his training seriously. I'm here to talk about it today. He would put me on a helicopter. I arrived in Baghdad, 17 hours in surgery, blood transfusions. Karen would get the call. And actually, I woke up 3 days later and I'm talking to her. I didn't even know what I was doing. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm a very positive person. So I'm probably on the phone, oh yeah, I'm all right, I'm coming back. And I did say that. And I did say that. And then all of a sudden, you know, like I'm all messed up and they said I wasn't hurt that bad. And all that. I don't know what happens when you hit a 250-pound roadside bomb, which he saw me at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas, and in the ICU unit. It was a little different story. Because I was actually battling for my life. I had E. coli, Enterobacter, 2 staph infections, a chemical agent in my leg, go from 195 to 118 pounds. October 1st, 2004, that was taken away from me forever. And you know what? I miss it every day. I can't tell you that I don't, but in that same token, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. The reason is because it gave me purpose, passion, and motivation and inspiration to do something above self. And I tell you, when I wrote that book with the tenets of success: perseverance, integrity, resiliency, honor, duty, and responsibility. And I did that because in that book, when I wrote it, I wanted to help others. And so what I'm telling all of you is that, you know what, life is sometimes not as easy as we think it is. And we've been in dark places. I was suicidal, had PTSD, and then I get diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury, which is actually the #1 issue of the war.
Yes.
No one knows that, but I'm telling you, that's what we should be fighting for in this state, to make sure that traumatic brain injury folks and anybody that hits their head with all of that equipment is taken care of, because I'm telling you, the concussions are the issues at hand, and they're masking it with PTSD. And that's why a lot of our veterans are taking their lives. And then when you're in the hospital, and I leave the hospital, and Karen and them are wheeling me in the wheelchair, and I'm out the door, all of a sudden they're handing me pills and pills and pills to kind of get me through. And then my friends come to the house. Chris, you've been to my house before. My friends are like, hey man, you gotta need those pills? No, true story. Percocets, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, man, I'm the puppy milk. Well, you know, anyways, you know what I'm talking about. And that's the issues that we have. And so I'm only telling you that because my story is one of many. There's many stories in this room. But what I'm going to ask all of you is for us to build a coalition. Today, Frank Merrick called me to action. And he's like a father figure to me. He's the one that taught me anything about nonprofit, the leadership management, college and institutional knowledge that I have is from him and a guy named Bob Spinks, who used to work at the United Way. And they are incredible people. Well, he called me to action today. He told me, why don't we build a coalition like we have in Tulsa that brings all the veterans and corporate partners and organizations together to make a difference. And I'm going to ask you to be a part of it. 100%. And I want you to really take the baton because my time's constrained. But I think that's what we should do in this community. Why? Because then that becomes a safety net for what we're trying to do. And I'd rather have our service members that are of high impact in that, what I call the ground pounder. That's my new word for you. I've been saying that word, ground pounder. A ground pounder, look, at my level, what I did in the military, I was an officer. I was a ground pounder too. But these folks are the ground pounders. I didn't set this meeting up. You all did. And why can't we just fill this room at one particular period of time and invite people to the next meeting, and I'll help you do it because I'm very good at convening people. And that's what I used to do at the United Way, is convene people to look at an issue in our community and say, hey, we're going to address this issue. And I think what we ought to do is convene the corporate sector and also all these nonprofits that are doing work in this space, veterans, and again, our corporate citizens and community leaders to say, hey, let's launch this thing. And let me get somebody that's pretty high profile to come in and launch it for us. And it could be the governor to say, hey, you know what, we're gonna do the same thing we're gonna do in Tulsa. Why? Because in Tulsa, they had 200 people at an event that I just did and spoke at, and they filled the room and they gave awards out to people that are doing something purposeful in this space. How incredible is that? We should have that in central Oklahoma. Because when you recognize somebody for their efforts, they work harder for the cause. And so I want to encourage all of you to think about that. I'd actually like to field real quick. This wasn't my speech today, by the way. People that have heard me speak, this is not how I do it. Speaking 101 is like intro, body, conclusion. This was me speaking from my heart today. And to all of my friends who are here that I know, and to the new ones that are going to do something very powerful, launching an entrepreneurship, and you're, man, that's what giving's all about. Or connected team, you know, everybody should sign up for that. With COVID right now, you may not be going to the doctor. So you better call one of our doctors and ask what's wrong with you, and then maybe you need to go to the emergency room. Why? Because last year when we were in Florida, we're going to Florida again, by the way, but last year when we were in Florida, Karen got sick. There were about 200 people in that, well, coming in and out of this deal. And Karen thought at that time, we didn't know what she had, but I guarantee it was COVID. And the thing about it, all those people there from Florida and all over the country.
Saved a lady's life last Wednesday.
Yeah.
She called in, she thought she had stomach pains, didn't know what it was, didn't really want to know. Just, it's stomach ache. She called in, they do a very thorough triage. It's not just, tell me what's going on. The practitioner recognized symptoms of appendicitis. Her body was loaded with toxins and sepsis, and she was minutes away from dying when they got her to the ER, and they saved her life because of the telephone.
Well, what we're finding about this, and I'm not just highlighting this issue just because what I've learned about it lately is very powerful. How does someone in rural Oklahoma, you know what they tell you? And the reason I know is because I was on the line. They were like, oh no, well go to the VA. Well, the VA's 60 miles away. I hope you can make it to the VA. And so my point to all of that is that there's some things that we can do, and maybe what we can do is what you guys don't know that I used to do. Chris, you've known me a long time. I don't know if you know this. I used to do strategic planning for central Oklahoma. We started probably 15 organizations in this community. You probably don't even know that we did. And what I'd like to do is possibly take us through an exercise where we can convene a bunch of people, we do a morning, and then we go through and end around lunch, and we pencil in our 5 actionables for what we want to do in our community to make a difference. And I'm willing to do that because I have time in my hands to be able to do that. And the John Daly Major Ed Heart of the Lion Foundation, which provides mental, physical, and wellness support, would love to do that with you. I think we need to do it. I think we need to be like founding members of this coalition. It's not big right now, but I can tell you right now, if we did that and we invited every veterans organization to the table and we advocated it, it's not just about, well, what does this organization do? Yeah, at the beginning we can all discuss this, and we can actually do it, hopefully maybe at Crossings Community Church or some faith-based place, or here, wherever you want to do it. But that we engage in the process of creating our plan for the central Oklahoma and how we address veterans issues. And I would love to help you with that and facilitate the discussion, put it on butcher paper, create a mission statement around it, and I'm good at mission statement stuff, create a vision, and then create our 5 strategic goals of what we'd like to do in year 1. And one of it needs to be entrepreneurship, home access, healthcare, and dealing with the mental health and other stressors. And I'm just telling you, those are the 5 core, there's 5 core issues right now that are those. And I'd love to help you do that and help tell the story of our veterans and you know what? Make an impact. And then have General Robinson, who's our Secretary of Veterans Affairs, possibly attend and launch our event for us. So it's just an idea. Look, we just created something real quick. And at the end of the day, I'm going to field some questions. And thank you all for coming and being a part of this. And Miles, by the way, is the man. So if you want to be videotaped, he's got the arsenal. And shoot some great video. He's also doing this project, Project 46, which is doing something to enhance and look at the parameters of our votes, of the things that we're doing collectively as a group to kind of hold candidates accountable as well. And I think that's the biggest thing in Oklahoma. I got to tell you, we set the standard, the gold standard for what it needs to look like in the United States of America. We voted red.
Yes.
And that's something to be proud of, right? And we voted red because guess what? We value our country. We're patriotic. And I'm going to leave you with one final comment. I know Joe Biden didn't win.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you why I know, okay? Number one, Andy Giuliani told me, and Andy, I value what he says, and he said there was a lot of fraud.
Okay.
But what you don't know is Karen and I have been to some of the rallies. I've been to quite a few of them. And I got to tell you, being in Wisconsin, there is no way that he lost. No way. And the reason is, I see 1,700 cars, Patriots, up in Wisconsin. My mom tells me the same story down in Florida, where she saw countless of peoples. I just talked to people in North Carolina, they said they saw countless peoples. Georgia, they said they saw countless people. There is no way that an individual in a basement won. And that second thing I'm going to say is, here's where I'm going with that, I'm going to end. Remember this. What we're not teaching in America is the importance of hard work. The candidate that outworked the other candidate supposedly lost. How pathetic is that for the values of our children? To say, you know what, you can sit in a basement, hang out, not come out, be outworked, and guess what? You achieved the greatest prize in the world. That is pathetic, that is sad, and I'm ending on a positive note. You know what? They don't fool us in this room.
No.
We stand for the greatest nation in the world, the United States of America. Hoorah!
Well, we like to use my out the work voice here. You know, one thing that I heard from former Secretary Gates, Robert Gates, during the Bush administration, I was on a call with him and several others a few weeks ago. And one thing he said to me was, we don't believe that China has infiltrated our local, our municipal, our county, our state, our federal government, we are fools.
Yep.
There are actors who want to usurp our values. And for me, with what Major Ed was speaking about, Project 46, it's about putting veterans, putting people who give a damn about our country, God, family, country, in that order, because you know our founders realized the greatest thing in the American experiments is we are able to amicably disagree, and that's all right. But then when you see sleepy Joe Biden and his crew completely turn over a rock and say, yeah, here are these votes, we won. That, is we're not going to amicably disagree for much longer if you're going to take out the integrity in the most important part, which is our election. And so putting veterans in places in our legislature, I think, is so important, and then getting us together and around the same cause, which is keeping America free, keeping our liberty secure, keeping this republic intact. And for the greatest response I have for anyone, well, what about the rest of the world? The rest of the world wouldn't have existed 70 years ago if it wasn't for the United States of America. It's that simple. So thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for your sacrifice and what you've done. And thank you every single one of you for coming. We're going to be reconvening again the third Thursday of every month right here at 11:30. So we'll be working, I'm sure, to convene a lot more people for that event, but I encourage every single one of you to attend again. Thank you so much for coming.
Where you go, brother? All right. Let's sign it to you, please. What's your name, sir?
I'm very interested. I fired my doctor.
said, you need to go to the hospital. I said, no, I need to. Because I had more plans.
You knew.
I did. They refused.
That's what I sell it
They
for.
refused my
$70
hydroxychloroquine.
on Amazon. His daughter, he was in school for 20 years. He knew his daughter. Hey, you look good. You were all your stuff. Really? Picture of somebody's got a minutes here was a seat over at the pharmacy.
And let me tell you, this telemedicine thing, I mean, she's talking to me through the computer. She can tell I have bronchitis. And she's saying, well, you might have COVID. And then what are you going to do? Tell me to wait? No, I need a Z-Pack. So I got my Z-Pack. Did great until I got so then I knew I needed a nebulizer. 6 hours. 6 hours later, I finally got my nebulizer because she had to get it approved. And I told her, I said, you do understand. I know what I need. I'm already on this steroid. All I need is a different way to get it. You know I have it. I need budesonide and a nebulizer. That's all I need. It's cheap. Why are you not doing this? No, we're not sure if that's the appropriate. You should just go to the ER. I said, I've had people go to the ER with pneumonia started, and they give them nothing, and then they're on life support. Give me budesonide today, so I can never talk to you. And I was on 2 days. 2 days. That's your second feeling. Did you have a car? Then I'm like, really angry about freaking children. So I am right now on medical for 9 freaking months.
I've been on it 5 years. I've tried it and I haven't been able to test
Is this cash or insurance? I mean, we do have cash. See that? I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
I'll give it a whirl. Yeah, I think I have.
See, my husband will sign up for that. He was out of
So what are these different
things.
made fun of me because I got my own pride.
I was in for a heart attack, and I see you, cardiac ICU, and they throw me fried chicken and french fries. What kind? Dry ice.